This is Good Evening San Diego.
Lots of new laws have got into effect this week, and Mark Powell, the president-elect of the San Diego Association of Realtors, joins me now to break down 6 new laws impacting housing. What you need to know. Mark, great to see you.
Good to see you, Logan. Thanks for having me.
We got some good stuff here. Let's talk about ADUs. These are accessory dwelling units. I used to call them granny flats. It's the little kind of house in the backyard, right, that people use for relatives, or maybe they rent it out. What's going on with that?
Granny flats, casitas, ADUs. Well, the city allows you to build a granny flat on your property. You can even build multiple granny flats on property. But what people found out was the only person who actually benefited from the granny flat was the property owner. Now, that owner increases their property value. They also are able to rent it and get income in, but it doesn't allow anybody else to participate in home ownership. So the state of California is now allowing cities to opt into a program which will allow the homeowner to sell that granny flat as a separate property. That's a good thing for people who want to buy a house. It's a good thing for realtors who want to sell it. Some people in the neighborhood don't think it may be a good thing, because if you have multiple granny flats, let's say you have 6 or 8 of them, you're allowed to sell each one of those individually and turn your property essentially into a condominium complex. They're going to get CC&Rs, which are conditions, covenants, and restrictions. So you essentially now live next door to an apartment complex.
How would you have 6 granny flats?
There's certain laws that allow, if you can opt in, SB 10, SB 9 will allow you to build multiple units on a single family lot.
So you've got your single family home and you've got 6 little granny flats in the backyard?
Yes, you can see these being built. If you go down certain streets in San Diego, you can see multiple units being built. Now, the benefit for the city is each one of those now gets taxed separately, and school bonds will be assessed based upon the assessed value of the granny flat. So now the city's going to make some additional cash because they're going to get the property tax revenue.
I mean, if you're just talking about one house and one granny flat, then do they parcel it? They split the parcel, and then you kind of own that house and that land, and
that is exactly what they're doing. It's parcel splitting. It's turning residential neighborhoods, single-family residentials, into multi-unit, multi-residential.
It's interesting. I could talk to you about this for probably 10, 15 minutes here. Let's get on to the disclosure of flipped houses. Because this is something new, right? This is where somebody buys a house, it's kind of run down, they fix it up, and then they sell it for more.
So when a person buys a property, the seller has to fill out something called a transfer disclosure statement, seller property questionnaire. You have to disclose what you did to the house. So sometimes they'll say, we put a new air conditioning system in, we put a new water heater in. This new law requires the seller to say every single improvement in the house. You have to identify the contractor who did the improvements, and you have to let them know was a permit pulled. So if they put a water heater in there, you're required to have a permit. That's another law.
They redo the bathroom, they redo the kitchen. What did you do? Did you knock out a wall, and who did it?
Exactly.
All right, we got about a minute left. New fire hazard disclosures. Quickly tell us about that one.
Okay, fire hazard disclosures are a requirement now. If you're in a severe fire zone or a high fire zone, you have to do something called fire hardening. That means you have to create a prevention space around your property so that if there's a fire comes up. So they're requiring people who live in areas that are protected by CAL FIRE or the local ordinance to provide these fire hardening forms on any property that's built.
Okay. We've got tenants' rights next, and there's 3 laws under tenants' rights: limiting Social Security deposits, this no crime-free housing, and if there's no elevator for a physically disabled, they've got to somehow let you take a ground floor unit. So tell me a little bit about those. I just want to get all of them in.
I'll do these quickly. Okay, so landlords are no longer allowed to charge first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. If you have a pet, we're going to make you pay more. You can charge first month's rent and a security deposit that cannot exceed that month's rent.
Okay. And then the crime-free zone, this is about like convicted people, right?
Well, you cannot no longer create crime-free areas. That means that if somebody is going to apply to live in the house and they're a convicted felon for whatever, you cannot prevent them from moving in, and you can't evict them because you suspect drug dealing going on or other types of crimes.
Okay. Convicted felons need a place to live too.
Of course.
What it sounds like. Okay, and then this is one where, tell me about this. So if there's like a building or maybe a 2-story something and there's no elevator, somebody would get the right to maybe move to a
Okay,
ground
I'll give
floor?
you an example.
Yeah.
So a 3-story building, there's an elderly woman who lives on the 3rd floor. Now she's needing to use a walker to get around. If a unit becomes available on the 1st floor, she gets first dibs on it, and the owner cannot charge her a higher rent. Has to pay the same rent that she
So
gets.
she's paying $2,000 on the 3rd floor, and then they redo the downstairs,
Correct.
and they want to try to get $3,000. She can get it for $2,000.
She gets first option because they don't have an elevator in there. She has
Yeah.
no way to go up and down the stairs.
What does physically disabled mean as far as like the law? I mean, do you have? I mean, you tell me.
Okay, well, physically disabled could be multiple things. They
Okay.
use a wheelchair, they're on crutches, maybe they were injured in the war and they have a prosthetic limb, anything that would limit their ability to go up and down stairs.
You maybe need like a doctor to say that this person
I suspect
is disabled.
there's going to be some things. We got to weed
Yeah.
all this stuff out
Okay.
that's brand new.
Mark Powell, we got through them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. All right, see you later.